Hello, my name's Ben.
And my name's Josh.
Welcome back to FPL graduates, and welcome back to another video. Where in today's video, we are past the craziness of the double game week, and we're going into game week 26, which is a single game week. So, yeah, a little bit less crazy. Maybe we'll have to just wait and see. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and let's get into Josh's team.
Okay, so yeah, off the back of that double game week 25, it was a green arrow. So we're up to just inside top 600k now. I think it's like 590k or something like that. But yeah, decent week to be honest. I'm having like consistent green arrows of about 100k at a time. So if I can keep that up, I think I've had about 8 green arrows in the last 10 weeks or something. So it's been decent going. So looking to continue that into these single game weeks now. Obviously, the assistant manager chip for me is still active for one more week. This is the final week we've got of it. We've had slot for 2 weeks where, if I'm honest, I'm a little bit disappointed just in the manner that Liverpool were dropping those wins. Obviously, the last seconds of that Everton game, and then Darwin Núñez missing the open goal for that Villa game. It weren't great, but yeah, he's not been outscored by too much by Moyes and Emery owners. So nothing too much to lose there, and I'll look to attack probably the table bonus this week with him. Well, not with Slot in particular, but with Oliver Glasner. He's got Fulham away this week. The table bonus games don't look great. He looks like the best in my opinion. It'll either be him or I'll play it safe with maybe like a Hertzler or an Iriola. I don't plan on going to Arteta just because I think Arsenal might struggle to score some goals like they did against Leicester last weekend. So that's the current thoughts with the assistant manager. It's probably going to be the only transfer that I use this week. And it's probably 70% likely to be Glasner. So, yeah, just as a heads up of what I'll be doing with that. In terms of the team, we've got Jordan Pickford in goal. Really good performance against Crystal Palace with 5 saves. Thought overall Everton defended pretty well throughout. They face United at home, which United have been really struggling to score goals. I think Anthony has more goals in February than Man United. So that tells you everything at the moment. So yeah, hoping for a clean sheet. To be honest, despite being a United fan, the league is over for us anyway. So roll on the Europa League. Trent up next with City away. Obviously got the goal and a clean sheet. Feel quite lucky as a Trent owner compared to if you went anywhere else in that Liverpool defence. It's going to be a tough one. Obviously, Haaland was benched against Real Madrid. It'll be interesting to see if he comes straight back into this Liverpool game. If he does, I'll be less sort of hopeful of a clean sheet because, yeah, obviously Conor Bradley picked up an injury as well in midweek, so it potentially forces the hand of Liverpool to play Trent a few more minutes than probably they'd like on his return from injury. Anthony Robinson is next with Crystal Palace at home. I would be tempted to bench him potentially if I do go with Glasner and double up on that Everton defence against United with at home. Just because it'll be obviously a clash of sort of the fixture with the clean sheet going if I want Glasner to win. The attacking threat is there with Robinson, but I think I'd just rather put all my eggs into one basket and sort of gamble it on that Everton clean sheet and the Glasner win. And then finally, we do have Gabriel West Ham at home this week. Again, hoping for the clean sheet for Arsenal, just because obviously they're really struggling going forwards. I think defensive stability for them is going to be key in order for them to pick up wins and points to keep up the pace with that Liverpool side. So, what's the thoughts on first of all the assistant manager Ben, and then that defence?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the assistant manager sort of moving on from Arnie Slot. Of course, I'd still expect Slot to pick up the win against Manchester City, just given about how poor they're playing. But you haven't chased the upside for the last 2 weeks, and now there's an opportunity for you to do so. So I think there's a potential opportunity there for you to do that, and agree with the Robinson shout. Like, I do think you can double up and put your eggs in that Everton and Palace basket, and then hopefully you can get out on top. Like, you're either going to have a green arrow off the back of that decision on its own, or a red arrow, which is a little bit scary, but is what it is. And yeah, in terms of the rest of the defense, Trent fairly solid now in his minute, which is perfect. Can't complain too much about that. And then, yeah, like the Gabriel pick, don't mind that at all. Of course, like in an ideal world, you'd have potentially a double up of the Arsenal defence because they are looking sort of relatively solid at the moment, but not the end of the world if you don't, because they're still under 100% EO anyway.
Yeah, and then moving on into the midfield then. So we've got Cole Palmer up first. Obviously, a lot of managers get frustrated with him at the moment. Understandable why. He's blanked quite a few times consecutively now. I personally won't be selling just yet. Obviously, Villa away this week, I think, is a good fixture for them. Defensively, I mentioned it in the transfer targets video, only kept 3 clean sheets so far this season, Villa. Just concede goals no matter who it's against. So for me, I'll be happy to own him for this week. And then obviously next week, they have Southampton at home, followed by Leicester at home. And he does play in the blank if I need him there. So yeah, more than happy to keep for now. And then I'll sort of reassess that probably come game week 30 of whether he's kicked into form and Chelsea are looking better or not. Brian Mbumo is on the vice captaincy at the moment. Leicester away. I really quite like the pick this week. I think he looks really good. Some games to be made. He is quite highly owned though, so yeah, something to be thought of. Have I considered him for captaincy? Probably like 1%. I think it's just going to be stuck on Mo at that 200% EO that he's just sat at constantly at the moment. We've got Atara up next. Obviously, got that goal for Bournemouth against Southampton last week, which was nice. He's so low owned that any sort of returns that he gets are instrumental. He basically got a green arrow for me last week on his own. I expect some more returns against that Wolves defence, despite looking defensively a little bit better. They're still shipping goals, so hopefully Bournemouth can continue that, and more specifically, Dango Utara. And then, yeah, Mo Salah on the armband. It just seems criminal to not give it to him. I know there's not many gains to be made, but when the guy's like averaging 2 returns a game, pretty much, it seems, why would you ship it off elsewhere unless you were certain of some bigger points? So, yeah, for me, I'll probably have it on Salah. I have been tempted by Mbumo, but I think with the risk of Glasner and that double Everton clean sheet, I think that's a bit too much for me for one weekend.
Yeah, that would be a lot of risk, and do agree that with given the risk that you've put in the defence and the manager, to keep it on Salah will just sort of keep you sort of steady there. Anyway, Dango Tara is a player that I brought in last week, and yeah, very impressed with him. The stats look good. Playing out of position is fantastic, and he's going to keep getting those chances because Bournemouth are just playing really well at the moment and have been sort of throughout the whole season. And Burmo's a pick that I'm looking to potentially bring in this week as well myself, because the fixture in isolation is fantastic. Like, I think it's really, really good. So yeah, really like that pick too. And completely agree with you on the decision on Cole Palmer. It's worth a keep at the moment. The next 3 fixtures from an attacking perspective are perfect for Chelsea and for Cole Palmer to turn his form around.
Okay, then. So moving on to the front three, we'll start from left to right with Chris Wood away at Newcastle. This man just doesn't stop scoring, and when he does score, he tends to get all the bonus as well. So yeah, really obviously happy owning him. I've owned him for quite a few weeks now. Mr. Consistent is what I say pretty much every single week. And obviously a lot of managers sort of worried about this schedule coming up for him. Last year or last season against Newcastle away, he did score a hat trick. So yeah, I wouldn't be too worried this week going into that game. Hopefully, he can do that again for owners. Isak's up next, obviously off the back of a blank again. Fair play to anyone who took him out and went to Watkins. I personally didn't, just because the value that I have in him is almost $1 million, I think it is. So yeah, not worth it for me personally. But Nottingham Forest at home this weekend. I'll almost be banking on him to wipe out that clean sheet because that Forest defence is so highly owned and I have no part of it. So, yeah, hoping he can get on the score sheet this weekend. João Pedro is up next. Obviously, he was benched last week and Jorginho Ruta has looked incredible, to be fair, for Brighton in those 2 games against Chelsea. So whether Pedro actually plays this week is a massive question mark. I'll be looking out for FPL Instinctive's sort of Brighton predicted lineup. He's pretty good with it, to be fair. Make sure you check him out on X. He's a Brighton fan himself, I do believe. So yeah, I'll be checking that out, seeing what percentage he gives him. If he is maybe 70% or lower, I'll probably look and just start Morgan Rogers against that Chelsea defence ahead of him, despite the fixture, obviously, that João Pedro could have. I do think that there is a genuine possibility that we might see João Pedro be benched again this week, just because obviously, why would you change a winning team from Hertzler's point of view? What's your thoughts on João Pedro and that rest of that attack then?
Yeah, it's a difficult decision really, and I think if João Pedro starts, then he's got to start in your team really. So it's so difficult. I wouldn't want to be in that position, but Morgan Rogers does play well against the better teams. Like we saw, he was fantastic against Liverpool. Maybe a little bit unlucky not to come away with sort of no return. So Yeah, I wouldn't like to be in your position in terms of it's a 50-50 coin toss to that one. Okay, so moving on into my team, and we're off the back of a 98-point week, which is really fantastic. So we're up to 283,000 in the world, which is a nice, good green arrow. Can't complain too much at all. Complete opposite of Josh in the last few weeks, just not had many green arrows at all. So nice to get that one. Start off in the defence, then we've got the double up of the Arsenal defence. Again, got some decent points last week. They're just consistent in terms of returns. It's nothing too spectacular, which is all that you can ask for really from the Arsenal defenders. So hopefully Wright and Timber can sort of continue that going forwards. Trent, as we spoke on, minute security seems to be there now, which is fantastic. I do anticipate you'll probably get 70 to 75 minutes. Maybe Kwanzaa will come on for him as he came on for Bradley. And then Lewis Hall in there as well. Not a good performance from Newcastle last week. They've got to bounce back. It's a really interesting matchup, that Forest game. And considering I don't have Chris Wood, it might just be worth, again, put my eggs in the Newcastle basket and just seeing if they can get that win there. Josh, what's the thoughts there on the defence?
Yeah, definitely agree with the Lewis Hall pick. Obviously, he carries the attacking threat, and then if you've got no Chris Wood, you're obviously going to have to back against it anyway. So, yeah, I like the idea of that. I think Mikalenko is not a bad option against United. Worst case, anyway. I think United obviously been so poor going forwards for most of the season. Overall, though, looks really solid. Obviously, double Arsenal defence is a massive differential at the moment with them being under 100% EO.
Okay, so moving on into the midfield, and we've got Mo Salah on the captaincy again, not straying from that, fairly secure in it and not risking it, just like Josh. Cole Palmer, again, same sentiment as Josh. I'm keeping him. I'm more than happy to hold on to him for the foreseeable. But a player that I am potentially looking at transferring out this week is Ismaila Sarr. I've been really sort of like thinking about my chip strategy this week and almost sort of have done a 180 on it just based on a couple of the fixture announcements we've had recently and potentially trying to look to get through Gameweek 29 without using the free hit and really sort of using the chips towards the end of the season. So, I've put myself in a position where I probably need to utilize all my free transfers on players, which means that I'm not going to be using any free transfers on Unai Emery. I do believe Villa will play Chelsea off the park, hopefully, in game week 26. It's a decent fixture. No table bonus for this one, but of course, having Moyes and Emery the last couple of weeks, I picked up a couple of table bonuses along the way, which isn't too bad at all. So, yeah, I'm going to keep Emery there. Potentially Sato and Burmo. I've got the exact money to do that as we speak. So, if there is potential price rises coming, it may price me out. But, if that happens, then I maybe would have to go to a Shada or someone like that, which isn't the end of the world either. Dango, as I said earlier, I brought him in last week, which turned out to be a good move. Really happy with him. And then I've not got so much of a headache because I have managed to start Rodgers in my team. So, Josh, what's the thoughts on the midfield and the potential transfer plan and assistant manager strategy?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Obviously, your future planning that Emery fixture. I don't think is too bad. I think I wouldn't say guaranteed, but pretty guaranteed a result there. I'd like to say just with the way that Chelsea are playing at the moment. So yeah, obviously the home fixture as well. Just sort of tease that off with Villa being so good at Villa Park. So yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think Sarr for me is definitely a sell. I think you've been really, really patient with him, and it's just Mateta who's been grabbing all those attacking returns. So yeah, it makes sense to move him on. I'd be tempted to move early if you were getting priced out of that Mbumo move. I think he's just that little bit better. You guarantee him minutes as well for game week 29, which is obviously going to be really important if you're having to use each and every free transfer going forward. So yeah, overall, really, really solid.
Okay, so moving on to the strike force, and we've got Alexander Isak and also João Pedro in there. Alexander Isak fairly happy with. João Pedro looks like I'm going to have to start him this week just based on the depth of my bench because, of course, we didn't see Cody Gakpo even on the bench against Aston Villa. So, to be honest, more than happy to bench him and basically be patient with him and keep him on the bench. Try and utilise him in game week 28, where Liverpool have that fantastic fixture. I think he'll be a massive differential by then anyway. So, yeah, not too sort of concerned with that. And then hopefully Howard Bellis wasn't too far away, and Mikolenko, of course, can come in if required. So yeah, that's the plan really with that. It leaves me with a little bit of a sort of like if Howard Bellis is out and Gakpo's out as well, leaves me with a bit of a threadbare bench. But the minutes are sort of fairly secure in everyone other than João Pedro. So yeah, one of those ones where it's a decision to make really, but at this point, I probably will just go for the attacker and the penalty taker for the potential higher upside. Josh, what's the sort of final overall thoughts on the strike force and the team?
Yeah, I like the idea behind holding Gakpo. You might catch a couple of price decreases, but I think it could be worth it. Obviously, Gakpo's home record compared to his away record, should I say, has been, light and day. He's been much better at home. And obviously, that Southampton fixture falls at home. And like you say, it could be huge differential points leading into that, obviously, that blank game week, which could also, help towards outscoring a free hit team. That probably won't have Gakpo realistic. I think a lot of people, especially seeing that he's injured, will probably look to ship him out pretty sharpish. João Pedro, I think regardless, I think he comes on. I don't think you've got anything to worry about there. So yeah, Mikolenko should be plenty of cover, I'd imagine, for that team. Okay, then, so that wraps up our Game Week 26 team reveal. Some huge strategy plans and big transfers to be made this week. Obviously, we post our teams on Instagram at the deadline every single week. If you want any early access to our teams, it's all on the Patreon. We get team reviews over there as well. So make sure you check that link out in the description.
Yeah, absolutely. And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the FPL Graduates. I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
next time. Have a good game week, everyone.
So you may rise, but you'll never make me wanna stick around you.